folks. I figured I'd go ahead and do another little audio. I don't have any visuals for you because nothing to see here except a poor old guy who's grieving over his lost kitty cat, my sweet monkey girl who recently died. But I've noticed a lot of commotion and fighting, I guess I should say, infighting going on in the internet world, UFO community among others. Uh, People getting jealous and copying each other, or using other people's videos and whatnot. And, there's this Lex Friedman guy or whoever and Joe Rogan. They've been sort of at each other, and uh, other groups. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what their beef is with each other. The third phase of the moon or Secure Team 10. All these UFO channels, and then you got all these new UFO channels that just sort of came out of the blue. All of a sudden have thousands of subscribers. That's highly suspicious right there. Um, One of them I noticed that I was critical of myself was called something like Unidentified Celebrity Review. And I was like, yeah, who are these unidentified celebrities? How did they all of a sudden become celebrities? Never heard of these people before in my life, and all of a sudden they have thousands of followers and all this. Again, in some cases, these are some of the same people who have been, involved in the government, who for 70 years or more have been saying, oh, there's no such thing as UFOs. It's just swamp gas. Look the other way. Now all of a sudden they're trying to say, oh, maybe there is life out there. Maybe we did find something on Mars, etc., 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 etc. So anyhow, what I wanted to do was go ahead and talk about copyright laws and patent laws, things like this. So, for example, um, as far as the copyrights go and these videos, all right, look, once you post a video onto social media or YouTube or whatever, you upload it to Facebook, whatever, that's the public domain. You've already put it out in the public domain. As far as you know, like, I'm sure there's some fine print somewhere that either YouTube owns the copyrights, or Comcast owns the copyrights, or Facebook owns the copyrights, or whatever. Whenever you signed up for that app or that service, there was some fine print and you checked a box somewhere that said, I agree, and you electronically signed it, okay? And you're saying now that, hey, I'm putting this out there, and so is going to have the copyright to this. Maybe not. I don't, maybe there's some fine print that says, oh, you still own, any potential copyrights, but you didn't file for a copyright. Like when I upload videos to YouTube, I'm not filing for a copyright first. And I don't put a warning on there, hey, warning, this is, if something's copyrighted, you need to go ahead and put that warning there, a warning, this is covered by, copyright, blah, blah, blah. In other words, you got to buy it before you can show it to anyone. And also, there's like limits to how many people you can show to. But there is a thing called fair use. Okay, so like when I show a short clip of, say, a Joe Rogan video because I'm analyzing Chris Mellon on there being deceptive or dishonest, you know, and showing all these, like, rolling his eyes like, oh well, maybe Bob Lazar was telling the truth, okay. When I do that, that's fair use because I'm not trying to pass off Joe Rogan's video as my own video, right? This is a video where I'm I'm watching. This is a video about me and my analysis of this particular episode where Joe Rogan's interviewing this Chris Mellon guy, okay, who's related to the Mellon Bank people, which was also Newsweek, which was also owned Newsweek, which also was one of the main periodicals, magazines, Newsweek magazine or whatever, that really cracked down hard on this Pons and Fleischman from the University of Utah. These were two highly accredited scientists who discovered cold fusion, okay, and they went straight to the press instead of going through this private system of oil company review. Um, they didn't go through private banks like Mellon Bank, okay. So this was what was concerning to me, is like who is actually suppressing real scientific information that should be out in the public domain, like the cold fusion results of Pons and Fleischman back in the early 90s. Okay, so I'm going to just read it to you briefly how this fair use defense works. Under fair use defense, another author may make limited use of the original author's work without asking permission pursuant to Section 17 U.S. Code subsection 107, certain uses of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting. Oh, yeah, I'm giving you news that this Chris Mellon guy is related to Mellon Bank and Newsweek was the ones that suppressed the cold fusion technology. Okay, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use. Okay, this means that teachers can use your video in a school or a nursery or something, as long as they purchase the original copy and it's limited use. It's just for their classroom. They're not selling it and making money off of your copyrighted thing. They're not trying to get famous, which is what some of them seem to be. Oh, they're so worried. Oh, he just wants to be famous or whatever. No, trying to help you clean up your own act and start flying right. Okay. Scholarship or research is not an infringement of copyright. Okay, so let's go back to my own patented thing. This was it was originally called artificial reality. I had to change the name to virtual reality because somebody in Hollywood got the jump on me and started putting out all this, virtual reality, that. They even created a whole new magazine to talk about virtual reality. Oh, this is going to be this great new technology down the road. Well, we already had it working, and it was our invention. Yeah, we were inspired by Hollywood originally. My co-inventor, he was inspired by the movie Tron, which was another movie that I liked, the old original Tron from the 80s. I was also inspired by the holodeck on Star Trek The Next Generation. So I wanted to have a sort of a mobile system of not augmented reality, but literally just artificial reality, where it's like you're in another world, you're inside the computer. Um, the original concept was to have a like this giant simulator that you go in, so you'd be totally immersed. Well, lots of people have been building, prior to this, had been building sort of virtual reality simulators. Video games were already out and being done. But so I had the idea, well, hey, what about something like the Viewmaster? Okay, so the Viewmaster was a patented toy that used stereoscopic. It had you had a little disc with microfilm in there, and you click the button and you look at different pictures, but you would get a parallax view. So you'd see a little slightly offset, and it gives the effect of 3D. So I was inspired by the Viewmaster, but the Viewmaster was a patented toy, and the patent had been reworked and was still in effect or whatever. So I couldn't I couldn't patent that part of it. So the display was really not even mentioned in the just a just said like a head-mounted display or whatever. That's not patentable. I didn't invent that. Okay. What I invented was the sensor and the system for converting the sensor data. This was a 3D magnetic sensor, and a computer interface system, and a program that would translate this 3D sensor data into, basically digital coordinates, or pitch, roll, and yaw, XYZ pitch, roll, and yaw coordinates for the computer. So the computer could render graphics to give you the simulation that you're inside the computer, you're in an artificial or a virtual world. Okay, I still hate that name, virtual, but because I feel like it was literally the name was stolen. The name for my own invention was stolen and renamed to virtual. Um, and I've discussed this before, like why was, who took it upon themselves to, first of all, change it, change the name from artificial reality to virtual reality. Who did that and why? That's very upsetting. Well, obviously the same people who spent the past 70 years trying to convince you that you're all alone in the universe. Um, so that's about all I wanted to say on. Oh well. So later on, of course, we went to Disney World and showed our thing, and nobody said boo. Not a single person approached me or made any kind of offer. No one even tried to contact me or ask me anything personally about how they could license it, or did we need money to develop the technology or what. I only had one person approach me, and it was just some strange man, you know, slightly older gentleman, and he approached me while I was like eating dinner, outside Epcot Center, and he had this thick, like a really thick folio of like printouts from the internet. This was things that he'd copied off the internet and printed, at the library or something. This was back in around 1995, so it was still sort of the early days of the internet. And it was just all these free energy things, like, water burning cars, and magnetic motors and all these different things. And he was like, yeah, I'm curious, if you'd ever looked into this, how do you think, how are these things are possible, like Joe Newman and all this other stuff, and Stan Myers and all this. And I just looked and I was like, well, I'm a scientist, I'm classically trained, I went to electronics school, I had straight A's in electronics, and I've been studying the physics of electricity and magnetism my whole life. And we're taught that this would be, so-called over unity or whatever, that you can't have more energy out than what goes in. This is what we're taught. Totally not true, but I believed it at that time. I believed it just like all the other electrical people out there believe, that you just have to burn more and more gasoline to get more and more power, right? You can't just amplify the electricity itself, and you can't have more watts, can't have more, volts times amps out than you have going in, because that's just not possible, right? Where does the energy come from, out of thin air or whatever? Well, maybe so, but personally, I don't believe that. I believe it really comes from the matter itself is being converted into energy. Um, but aside from that, uh, I just wanted to point out that this was the only person that approached me that entire time. I'd already spent like 10 years and thousands and thousands of dollars of my own money, ruined my marriage, and trying to get ahead, trying to just get somewhere where I felt comfortable to have a child, enough income I felt like I could give the child a decent life or a better life than I had. So Well, long story short, I just blew the guy off. I was like, that's not possible. These are all just, these are just. I just wrote him off as like some crazy guy. I was like, well, thanks. I'll take a look at it, and I'll give you a call or whatever. I just kind of wrote him off and asked him to leave. I'm trying to eat. You mind going away? But I also noticed that there were lots of other inventors there that had really good inventions, and nobody was nobody was approaching them either. Um, they were lucky to maybe sell some of your goods there, but wow, that's a pretty expensive trade show to go to. You'd be better off just going to the local peach festival or down to the local arts and crafts thing, or setting up on a street corner somewhere and paying some taxes on that, or rent a spot somewhere and set up shop like that if you have goods to sell. But we didn't have goods to sell. We had intellectual property. We had a patent, the very first patent for artificial reality, what you now know as virtual reality. So later on, we found out that there was somebody who I had contacted through a potential supplier. I had contacted this person through a middleman, so to speak, and I wanted to know what the lead times were. Like, hey, I've got all these people calling from around the world and around the country. They're interested. They want to buy one to try it out and see if they can use it for, instead of using it for virtual reality, or for example, use it for something else. Use the 3D sensor and the tracking technology for something else. Well, obviously, it could be used for a whole lot of things, including weaponry and missiles, or directional oil drilling, or for mapping, mapping of the geomagnetic field, uh, or it could be used simply, for local tracking of magnetic fields, like for fusion, magnetic confinement, fusion experiments, and things like that. Well, we found that there was this company. Um, I'm not even going to name their name because I don't want I don't want somebody to come back later. Oh, yeah, that's a false accusation or whatever. But this company they were making the sensor. This was the company that I contacted her, and she said, well, they want to know what you want to use it for. I was like, oh, sure. Well, I was proud to say what it was. So I gave her this contact, a video, a copy of the patent, a copy of the news articles, and all these different things. And so a couple years later, my partner found out that, hey, this company, they didn't really come back with any information about, oh yeah, we can have as many of them ready as you want. What they did is they just started making the 3D sensor part. Well, is this an infringement of the patent? Just the 3D sensor part, without not including the program, not including the computer to render graphics, and not including the heads-up display or the head-mounted display. Well, if it's just the sensor, if it's just a 3D sensor, yeah, it's identical, and yeah, obviously they copied it right out of our patent, but the patent's in the public domain. Anyone can look up that patent. So they were not technically infringing on the patent. So there's really no case there. Also, they were not cutting into my business. I didn't have any business. So it's not like they were causing me financial harm in that regard. Uh, what caused me financial harm was the fact that it's not a free market, that I was not able to penetrate this market in any form or fashion. That's the only infringement of my rights, is the fact that I don't belong to the right class of people, maybe. So that's why I was not allowed to profit from my own invention. Even though I had a patent, the patent's no good. Patent's no good unless someone literally steals it and starts making a ton of money, and then you're able to sue them. But I didn't have any money to sue them. We didn't have any money to retain an attorney. So that's basically what I'm getting at is that when someone out there makes a video about someone else's video or comments on it or whatever, well, again, pursuant to 17 U.S. Code subsection 107, certain uses of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of copyright. So, there you go, all you people in the UFO community that want to control the narrative or say you know it all. This it's definitely all this. It's all secret military. It's all this or it's whatever. Hey, that's you got the right to do that. You got the right to do that as long as you're really doing the fair use thing. Um, Again, using it for criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. So I'm doing research. What am I researching? Well, I'm researching who these people are and what sort of other crimes they might actually be guilty of, aside from just lying to the American public for 70 years. Aside from the fact of that they're concealing uh, recovered materials, for example, or the fact that they steal people's videos and photographs and they never get them back, you know. Or let's say you found something and you send it off to be analyzed and you never get it back. Okay. Also, I'm kind of curious why every one of these people or reporters I've tried to contact has a screener with a British accent, you know, and I can't actually contact this person or let them know who I am or what sort of information I have. I can't I can't ask them any questions, and they don't ask me any questions because there's a wall in between. There's literally a wall between me and these other people out there. I tried to contact this Linda Moulton Howe and sent her several emails and stuff. Nothing. Uh, Her screener said, "Oh yeah, send us some information." They always say send us information, but then you never hear back from them. She never tried to interview me. She never, she'll take all this other stuff that's obviously just misinformation or bullshit and put that out there. But here's a real person with a real history and a real patent for one thing, real hardback books and things that show some of our true history that's being deleted. It's constantly being deleted. So that's upsetting. I want to know who these people are, why they're deleting my American history. It's pissing me off. It really is pissing me off. So, and yeah, the older I get, the more I see this kind of shit happening. And I'd like our history to be set back onto a more natural and realistic course. Also, I like the sort of whatever this higher force of evil is to recognize that you are not alone in the universe, and I am not alone in the universe, and we are not alone in the universe. There's life everywhere, including on the moon and Mars, I'm sure, including up your butthole. There's living creatures. There's entire colonies of beneficial bacteria that live in your butthole. So if you find that offensive, I'm sorry. Don't watch my videos. Unsubscribe right now. You know, go tell Joe Rogan, hey, this crazy guy likes your videos. Thanks for listening.